Other people get reborn to make money. I got reborn to pay off debts. Back in 1977, faced with my 3 ex-wives whose hearts I had completely broken, I slapped myself hard twice and turned to walk out the door. They thought I had gone gambling again, but I came back with a big fish and a wild rabbit. Looking at their stunned expressions, I swore, for the rest of my life, I won't touch gambling. But as for you 3, I'll take responsibility to the very end. You bastard. Didn't I tell you to do it outside? What if I get pregnant? I'm telling you, starting tomorrow, go find Sister Huilan to keep you company. Stop tormenting just me. A string of reproach came like firecrackers, making my ears ache. Before I could figure out what was going on, I was kicked right off the bed and landed hard on my backside. Grimacing in pain, I looked up and saw a charming woman with waterfall-like black hair and flushed cheeks glaring at me. She had an oval face, and her fair skin was as smooth as cream. And her long, narrow phoenix eyes were both seductive and alluring. Just one glance could steal your soul away. Lowering my gaze, I saw 2 long legs exposed outside the blanket, smooth and pale, with slightly curled toes, round and delicate like little candies. Gulp, I swallowed, and my whole body suddenly trembled. Wasn't this my second ex-wife, Zhou Dong? Something's wrong. Very wrong. I clearly remembered that, because I couldn't repay my gambling debts and sold our daughter to traffickers, Zhou Dong couldn't bear it and threw herself into the river. How could this be? Wait. An absurd thought appeared in my mind. My heart pounded like thunder as I stiffly turned my head to look around the room. The beam overhead looked distinctly old, with no ceiling, the crossbeam fully exposed. The yellow mud floor was uneven, and large patches of damp mold stained the corners of the walls. I had been reborn. Reborn back to 1977, the year when none of those tragedies had happened yet. In my previous life, I messed around outside every day, hopelessly addicted to gambling, and let down 3 good women who had sincerely cared for me. Even though I was as useless as rotten mud that couldn't be propped up, they never abandoned this family, but supported one another and together took care of my elderly mother. Yet I didn't know how to cherish them and did something as monstrous as selling my daughter, driving Dongmei to her death, angering my mother to death, and utterly chilling the hearts of my other 2 ex-wives. It wasn't until this family was completely destroyed by my own hands that I finally woke up to my mistakes, too ashamed to remain in my hometown. So I left home and went elsewhere to make a living. Later, although I caught the wave of reform and opening up and went into business, becoming a billionaire, the deaths of my wives, daughter, and mother remained a thorn in my heart. Guilt grew wildly like vines. I never remarried for the rest of my life and suffered the torment of remorse every day. Luckily, heaven was not unkind to me and gave me a chance to be reborn. Dongmei, all these years I was confused and failed you. From now on, I will definitely turn over a new leaf and take good care of you and Enin, and take care of this family. My eyes reddened, and I climbed onto the Kong and pulled the plump, beautiful woman into my arms. You idiot. Using that much force. Are you trying to strangle me to death? Zhou Dongmei was already worried she might have gotten knocked up and was simmering with anger. Seeing me like this, she thought I wanted more again and directly raised her foot to press against my mouth and nose. Letting you have it once should have been enough? You're still not done? What? Do you take this place for a state-run restaurant with all-you-can-eat service? This little scent smells nice. I love smelling it. Seeing the look of satisfaction on my face, Zhou Dongmei got even angrier and smacked me across the face with the sole of her foot. I get annoyed just looking at your pathetic face. Hurry up and get lost. Being disliked that much, I was too embarrassed to keep hanging around, so I put on my clothes and walked out of the room. At this hour, dawn was just breaking, and there was already a busy, pretty figure in the yard. It was my 3rd ex-wife, Su Shihong. She had just turned 20 this year, right in the bloom of youth. Her little face was fair with a rosy glow, so delicate it seemed you could break it with a puff, tender as if it could drip with water. Speaking of it, I was really a bastard. Su Shihong had only married into the family last year, and the very next day, I dragged her off to get a divorce certificate. The reason was absurd. She demanded that I swear to quit gambling, otherwise she refused to sleep with me. In my previous life, I would rather divorce than swear to quit gambling, and I couldn't even be bothered to say a kind word. Why are you up so early? Why not sleep a little longer? I scratched my head and went over to make conversation, but who knew I'd hit a sore spot again? Su Shihong bared her little tiger teeth and rolled her eyes. Mind your own business. Whether I'm awake or asleep, what's it to you? This girl. Her voice wasn't loud, but her words went straight for the heart. Forget it. Who told me not to act like a decent human being? I just wanted to ask if you're tired. How about I do the peeling and you go rest? Just as I was trying to show a little initiative, a noise came from behind me. Turning around, I saw a woman with a graceful figure and shoulder-length short hair coming out of the kitchen carrying rice soup and wild vegetable pancakes. She wore a dark blue cloth jacket faded from washing, with 2 patches stacked at the bend of one elbow. She was my first ex-wife, Lin Huilan. You're awake? Perfect. Go wash your hands and eat breakfast. Lin Huilan lived up to her name. Although she was a born and raised country woman, her temper wasn't as blunt and fiery as Zhou Dong's. Nor did she speak with the barbed edge Su Shihong had. She was both virtuous and capable, and that gentle air about her was like a spring breeze brushing the face. Most importantly, she was the only one among my 3 ex-wives willing to show me a pleasant face. Alrighty. I was just grinning and about to reply when Su Shihong beside me clicked her tongue. Oh, did the sun rise in the west today? Not fixing yourself a special meal today, and actually willing to drink rice soup and eat wild vegetables? Right. In this family, it's just us women digging the fields and working ourselves to death all day for only a few work points. By the end of the month, the rice jar is so empty it's practically gathering dust. Even if you want to stir up trouble, there's nothing for you to mess with. That whole speech embarrassed me so much I could barely lift my head. But I also caught the key point. The family was running out of food. Shihong, why say all this so early in the morning? Afraid the 2 of us would start arguing, Lin Huilan quickly stepped in to play peacemaker. Hearing that only made Su Shihong more displeased. Sister Huilan, I really don't understand. Why are you always taking this damned gambler's side? Forget the distant past. Just look at this courtyard wall that's been collapsed for half a year. Has he repaired it? Has he ever added any food to the house? Have he ever taken care of even once of the 3 kids you and Sister Dong may have? A man like him deserves to eat the grain we worked so hard for? Does he deserve it? By the end, Su Shihong's eyes were brimming with tears and her voice was trembling. She truly regarded Lin Huilan and Zhou Dong as real older sisters, which was why she felt Lin Huilan's devotion was not worth it. Lin Huilan lowered her eyes. She also knew Shihong felt sorry for her, but what else could she do? Scoundrel or not, I was still the father of her child. Dongmei had a fiery temper, and Shihong couldn't hide what was on her mind. If she didn't act as the peacemaker, could this family still have peaceful days? Smack. Suddenly, I gave myself a hard slap across the face. The sudden sound stunned them both. 2 pairs of eyes stared straight at me, full of disbelief. But that still wasn't the end of it. My face full of remorse, I spoke seriously. Shihong. Huilan, I wronged you before, and I wronged this family. Believe me or not, this time I'm absolutely determined to change for the better. I'll never gamble again. From this moment on, I'll take responsibility for supporting the family, make sure you're fed and clothed, and give all of you a good life. You'll never have to worry about food again. The 2 women looked at each other. Was Zhou Dong, that gambling addict, actually repenting? And he even slapped himself? They weren't dreaming, were they? In my previous life, after I became successful and famous, there was no shortage of beautiful women throwing themselves at me. But out of guilt toward my wife and daughter, I never remarried for the rest of my life. To ease the emptiness and distract myself, I spent a lot of money on all kinds of extreme sports. Overseas hunting tours, wilderness survival, combat techniques, deep-sea diving. If I was interested in it, I'd hire the best instructors and buy the best equipment. At my current skill level, getting some wild game would be easy. More importantly, if I want to change the way my 3 beautiful ex-wives see me, talking alone won't do. I have to fill their stomachs. No, I have to stuff them full. Enough talk. While it's still early, I'm heading up the mountain. One way or another. I'm getting you meat today. I tucked 2 wild vegetable pancakes into my clothes, grabbed the machete and kudzu vine cord, and headed straight for Matu Mountain. It wasn't until I had run completely out of sight that Lin Huilan and Su Shihong came back to their senses, still wearing expressions like they'd seen a ghost. Sister Huilan, seeing him like this, why do I feel so uneasy inside? We need to hurry and wake Mother and Sister Dongmei to talk about this. At this point, let alone Su Shihong. Even the usually steady Lin Huilan furrowed her brow, feeling deeply unsettled. Without stopping, I made my way to the northern foot of Matu Mountain. It was just the beginning of autumn, and the oaks and maples in the mountains had already burst into blazing color, red from the foot of the mountain all the way up to the middle, making for brilliant scenery. The villagers digging for wild vegetables were afraid of running into wild beasts, so they all lingered near the foot of the mountain, not daring to go deeper in. These days, everyone's energy was spent digging in the fields to earn work points. They were all skin and bones. Even if wild game ran all over the mountains, they had no strength left to hunt. But weak or not, their mouths were as sharp as ever. Well, if it isn't young Master Zhou from the old Zhou family, what a rare sight. You actually didn't go play cards today. We can't compare to him. He's got 3 ex-wives and his old mother supporting him. Even digging wild vegetables counts as experiencing life for someone like him. I couldn't be bothered to pay attention to gossip like that. What mattered most now was getting myself a proper hunting tool. My ancestors were never hunters, and I couldn't just conjure up a hunting rifle. If I relied only on the machete in my hand, how long would it be before we got to eat meat? I looked around and fixed my eyes on an oak branch about as thick as my thumb and around 1.5 meters long. I snapped it off at the base with one hand, then used the machete to shave off the knots in a few swift strokes. And just like that, I had a bow stave. For the bowstring, I used the thick double-strand kudzu vine cord I'd brought from home. It was tough and not easy to snap when pulled. I clamped the bow stave between my knees, twisted the vine cord tight with both hands, and jammed both ends firmly into the notches. Then gave it several hard raps using leverage. In the next moment, the bow bent into tension, and with just a light push, it vibrated with force. I also found some shrubs and old bamboo branches to make arrows, shaving the arrowheads directly into slanted hardened points. That made the arrowheads thicker and heavier, with greater striking power, enough to hit rabbits and pheasants with near-perfect accuracy. After working for most of the day, I was drenched in sweat, and my throat felt so dry it was almost smoking. I walked to the mountain stream on the southern side of Matu Mountain, crouched down, and gulped a few mouthfuls of clear stream water. It was cool and refreshing with a slight sweet aftertaste. Couldn't have felt better. The water quality really was better in those days. I had just wiped my mouth and was about to stand up when a faint rustling sound came from diagonally behind me. Beneath a low thorn bush 100 paces away, 2 furry ears twitched. It was a gray rabbit. It wasn't very big, only about 2 or 3 gene, squatting there nibbling on alfalfa leaves. I let out a soft breath, slowly took down my bow, and edged forward along the side of the rocks. 30 paces is the optimal range. Any farther, and the arrow loses power. Any closer, and the grass is too short, making it easy to be spotted. Holding my breath and focusing, I steadied the bow with one hand, clenched the rattan string with all 5 fingers, and yanked it back hard. Whoosh, thud. Damn, got it. I shouted excitedly, my grin nearly reaching my ears. With a good start to back me up, I didn't have to worry about coming up empty-handed later. Holy shit, Dongzi. What's gotten into you, kid? You actually came up the mountain. I had just tied the gray rabbit to my waist when I heard someone down the slope calling my nickname. The voice was bold and hearty. It was Li Taiju, who'd grown up with me since we were little kids. Taiju was running and covered in sweat. When he got close and saw the gray rabbit at my waist, his eyes lit up at once. Not bad. Earlier I heard my former sister-in-law say you'd gone up the mountain, and I didn't believe it. Didn't expect you'd already bagged yourself a rabbit. He lifted it and weighed it in his hand. Pretty fat indeed. Enough for your family to eat for 2 meals. I swung the bow onto my back. Why aren't you working today? Working my ass. The team's water pump broke again. The electrician went into town to buy parts, so I had nothing to do and slipped out. Taiju waggled his eyebrows. Come on, I'll take you to a good spot. A few days ago there was a torrential rainstorm. Part of the backwater cove upstream collapsed, so there are bound to be some big ones washed down and trapped in the shallows. Hearing that, I felt pretty awful inside. Taiju was the village's famous water monkey. Ever since he was a kid, he loved soaking in the river, and no one was better at catching fish and shrimp than him. Whenever he found a good spot, I was the first person he thought of. But what about me? After being led astray by Lizzie and his gang and getting hooked on gambling, all I did all day was shake dice or play pai gow. I was practically rotting away in the gambling den. Taiju had tried to persuade me before to stop gambling and live a proper life, but I only thought he was meddling and said plenty of nasty things that really cut deep. Yet even so, in my previous life, after I finally came to my senses, Taiju not only let bygones be bygones, but also, to support me in going into business, scouted around everywhere, catching fish before dawn and taking them to the black market to sell. He worked nonstop for 3 months. We made money, but that stirred up others' jealousy, and he was ambushed at the mouth of an alley by fellow black market traders. By the time I got there, Taiju only had 1 breath left, and he was still clutching the money from selling the fish in his hand. Also, he could personally give me this last bit of startup capital. My nose stung, and my throat tightened. A brother like this, a bond like this. I couldn't repay it in 2 lifetimes. Dongzi, why'd you stop? What are you spacing out for? Tieju's urging drew out what was in my heart. Taiju. All these years I haven't done a single decent thing, and nobody thought much of me. You're the only one who still cared about me and treated me like a brother. I wronged you before, but starting today, I swear I won't act like an idiot anymore. Taiju froze for a moment, then threw an arm around my shoulder and laughed as he cursed. Damn, since when did you get so mushy? What? You finally realize you used to be a real piece of shit. Heh, if you really feel that bad about it, count out to your dad, and that'll do. Your dad can take it. Good one, kid. I made a quick grab back at him, grinning even more shamelessly than he was. Which one of us is whose dad? Damn, you're really getting cocky now. Don't pull. Dad, Dad. Laughing and joking, the two of us arrived at the backwater cove. The stream here was blocked by a fallen dead tree. Forming a swirl, and a patch of mud had collapsed beneath the dead tree, stirring the water until it was a bit murky. In the cloudy water, faint shadows could be seen moving. Taiju stripped off his outer pants and stepped into the water. The water had just reached his knees when the cold made him hiss. Bending over, he stared fixedly at the surface. Dongzi, look there. Under the calamus roots, there's a tail tip. I squatted on the bank and squinted, and sure enough, a bluish-black tail tip stuck out from the calamus clump, gave a slight flick, and then shrank back again. Bent over, Taiju spread all 10 fingers in the water and edged closer inch by inch. Smack. He suddenly clapped both hands together, splashing water all over his face. But in his hands he was gripping a rock fish as long as a pair of chopsticks. Greenish-black back, white belly, and its tail was still whipping desperately. Dongzi, catch. Taiju tossed the fish onto the bank. It flopped twice in the grass before I pinned it down with one hand. Slippery as hell. This fish had to weigh at least half a gene. Watching made my hands itch, so I kicked off my outer pants in a few quick moves and waded into the water bare-assed. Make some room for me. Taiju turned around and laughed. Why the hell do you strip so clean? You ain't afraid the fish'll bite your dick off? Fish don't exactly nibble gently. Screw you. I cursed out loud, but inside I was embarrassed as hell. I couldn't exactly say my underpants had been left in my ex-wife's room, so I had no choice but to go out commando, right? Just then, a string of bubbles rose to the surface. Glug glug. No need to think about it. There was definitely something in there, and a big one at that. The bubbles were coming from deep inside a dark hole beneath the roots of the fallen tree. Black as pitch, bottomless to the eye, and the water already reached my lower belly. I took a deep breath and slowly squatted down into the water, both hands circling in from either side. At the instant my fingertips reached into the dark hole, I touched a mouth as wide as a thumb. Round, opening and closing as it breathed. My heart tightened, and my fingers instinctively pulled back, but then I gritted my teeth and reached in again. This time I didn't hesitate. I pinched with 2 fingers, caught it by the gills, and yanked hard. Taiju, help. I got a big one. Before I could finish shouting, the fish gave a violent thrash, so strong I nearly lost my grip. A cloud of muddy silt churned up underwater, spray splashed high, and I was dragged stumbling forward with it. Good thing Taiju reacted fast and wrapped his arms tightly around my waist from behind. Otherwise I'd have fallen into the water. Damn it, put some more strength into it. Splash. A big black-backed carp burst out of the water. Its scales flashed with a dark golden sheen under the sun. Holy shit. Taiju's eyes went wide. How many years had this fish been hiding in that hole? It's freaking huge. The two of us had to use a hell of a lot of effort just to haul the big catch onto the bank. Taiju patted the fish's belly and clicked his tongue. Not bad, you damn lucky. This thing weighs at least 4 or 5 gene. If we make it into cured fish, it'll last us all the way to year end. He really wasn't exaggerating. These days everybody was tightening their belts. A family that got to taste meat once or twice a month was already doing pretty well. A 4 or 5 gene big carp, once air-dried and hung from a beam, could easily last till the beginning of next year if you ate sparingly. But that wasn't the kind of life I wanted. I wanted my family to live well, with meat at every meal and no worries about food or clothing. It's still early. Let's get back in and feel around for a few more. Sure, that damn gambling addict. He said he was going up the mountain, but it's almost dark and there's still no sign of him. But he's off fooling around with Lizzie and that bunch again. In the courtyard, Zhou Dong, just back from work, stood with her hands on her hips, her pretty face filled with anger. Su Shihong was helping Enine braid her pigtails while chiming in. I said it long ago. A rotten bastard like him will never change in this lifetime. We'd be better off taking mother and splitting the household to live separately, so we don't get dragged down by him someday. Before she could finish, Huelon's 2 daughters suddenly cried out, Daddy, Daddy's back. Wow. Mom, second mom, Third mom. Grandma, look. Daddy's carrying a huge fish on his shoulder, and there's a big rabbit hanging from his waist too. Several pairs of eyes in the courtyard turned toward the gate in unison. I stepped through the courtyard entrance and, like showing off treasure, unloaded the big black-backed carp from my shoulder and the gray-furred rabbit from my waist. Get things ready. We're eating meat tonight. The three little girls were instantly thrilled when they heard that, bouncing around the game nonstop. But the old lady, Zhou Dong, and the other two women still stood rooted where they were, not moving, their expressions each uglier than the last. Mainly because this scene was far too familiar. Whenever I craved meat, I'd run off with Lai Zi to gamble with Zhang Matzi, the hunter Zhang's son. If I won, fine, I'd secretly eat outside by myself. But if I lost, it would end up like today. Zhou Dong, tell the truth. Is it that you gambled with Zhang Matzi again and even bought meat on credit? Zhou Dongmei demanded, her eyes red-rimmed. Su Shihong let out a cold laugh and cut in. Huh, isn't it obvious? The last few times it was chickens and rabbits on credit, and this time it's really something, such a huge fish on credit. Before, we could grit our teeth and still pay it back, but if we can't this time, won't that Zhang Matzi just snatch Sister Huilan away? This time, even Lin Huilan fell silent, turning her face away and secretly wiping her tears. The fact that Zhang Matzi had his eye on her had long become common knowledge throughout the brigade. It was only because Dongmei and Shihong were not to be messed with and often protected her that Zhang Matzi didn't dare do anything too excessive. But right now, looking at this scene, my heart twisted into a knot, and I wanted nothing more than to slap myself hard across the face. I really was a failure as the man of the house. Son, your mother doesn't expect you to be especially successful. I only hope you'll behave yourself, and then I'll be completely satisfied. But why won't you mend your ways? Why won't you mend your ways? The old lady thought she'd hit the mark and grew even more disappointed. Just then, a burst of hurried footsteps came from outside the yard. Li Taizhu rushed into the courtyard in a hurry, with straw ropes still hanging around his neck and waist. And tied to the ropes were a full 8 fish. Dongzi, you brat, why didn't you wait for me? Why were you running so fast? I've still got 5 more fish with me for you. In an instant, everyone fell silent. After a long moment, the old lady spoke first. Taizhu, tell Auntie the truth. Did Dongzi really go hunting in the mountains? Taizhu quickly untied the straw rope and lifted up the big fish for everyone to see. How could that be fake? The two of us worked all day, and Dongzi caught all these big fish. People always say I'm good in the water and good at catching fish, but if you ask me, Dongzi's even better than I am. Su Shihong, however, gave a light snort. Who knows whether you're covering for him? What kind of talk is that? Taizhu instantly grew anxious, put down the fish, and said seriously, everyone in the brigade knows what kind of person Li Taizhu am. I always mean what I say. When have I ever lied? He straightened his back and looked at the old lady. Auntie, you've watched me grow up. If you don't trust what others say, do you not even trust me? The old lady really did believe 7 or 8 parts out of 10. Taizhu was an honest child, and with the game laid out here, it really didn't look fake. No matter what, it was a good thing that Dongzi hadn't gone off gambling. As soon as the old lady relented, Lin Huilan glanced at my expression and stepped out to smooth things over. All right. It's a good thing that Zhou Dong has turned over a new leaf. Stop standing around and hurry up with dinner. The children are hungry. Just as she was about to take the fish into the kitchen, I stepped forward and grabbed it first. Huilan, you rest. I'll cook today. You can cook? Zhou Dongmei froze for a moment and widened her eyes. Ever since I married into your Zhou family, I've never seen you set foot in the kitchen. Su Shihong added another jab. Forget setting foot in the kitchen. You've never even washed a bowl. My old face reddened. The past is the past. Now is now. You don't need to do a thing. Just wait and see my cooking skills. I took the game into the kitchen and began preparing it with practiced ease. In my previous life, I'd spent plenty of time honing my cooking skills. Overseas hunting, wilderness survival. These were all essential skills. Over time, even the simplest ingredients could become delicious food. Before long, a rich meaty aroma drifted out of the kitchen. He really is cooking? Let's just hope he doesn't ruin such good ingredients. Su Shihong muttered as she got up and walked toward the kitchen. No, I have to see it with my own eyes. When she reached the kitchen, she saw that the big fish was already stewing, and I was handling the wild rabbit. Hungry? Seeing her poke her head in, I smiled with crescent eyes and said, Don't worry, it'll be ready soon. Su Shihong froze, standing there as if someone had pressed her pressure point. That gentle, easygoing smile, that incredibly skillful cooking. Was this really the gambling addict ex-husband she knew so well? Maybe. He wasn't as awful as she had thought. An illusion. It was all an illusion. Her ears turned red, and she quickly shook her head, turned around, and fled back to the yard. Not long after, I brought the fragrant stewed fish and braised wild rabbit to the table and served rice and dishes for the family. Come on, try my cooking. Dad is amazing. The three daughters hadn't had meat in a long time, and they clapped their little hands excitedly, their big grape-like eyes almost glued to the stewed fish. Here, one piece each. I picked out the tenderest fish belly for my daughters and carefully removed the bones. The three girls ate big mouthfuls, so delighted that their eyes narrowed into slits. When I looked up, I saw that the old lady and the three ex-wives hadn't touched their chopsticks and were staring at me with strange expressions. Eat, all of you. What are you standing there for? The ex-wives looked at one another, all wearing dreamy expressions. In the end, Lin Huilan was the first to pick up a piece of fish and put it in her mouth. HM. She widened her eyes in disbelief and cried out with a hand over her mouth. Sister Huilan, are you okay? Did you burn yourself? Su Shihong hurried over. Spit it out, quick. But Lin Huilan waved her hand, swallowed the meat, and looked at me with shining eyes. It's delicious, really. Seeing that even the usually composed Huilan reacted so strongly, the others couldn't sit still either and all started using their chopsticks. It's really good. Zhou Dong, where did you learn to cook? You could even open a state-run restaurant. The ex-wives were stunned by my cooking, and once they started eating, they simply couldn't stop. The atmosphere at the table gradually became warm and harmonious. I felt the timing was about right, so I took the initiative to stand up, planning to formally make my position clear. He wanted to tell his mother and his three ex-wives that from now on, he would never touch gambling again, and that he would be an upright, decent man and lead his family to a good life. But before Zhou Dong could say the words, suddenly, a shifty-looking figure swaggered in. Oh my, what are you eating? Smells great. The newcomer had a pockmarked face and a lewd expression. When he grinned, he revealed a mouthful of rotten teeth. Zhang Matzi, what are you doing here? Zhou Dong's expression immediately darkened. The people he least wanted to see right now were Zhang Matzi and Lizi, this gang of degenerate gamblers. The family had only just started to believe he had truly turned over a new leaf. And with this guy showing up, all his previous efforts were about to go to waste again. Sure enough, Qiu Dongmei immediately shot Zhou Dong a glare and shielded the three little girls behind her. Su Shihong also stepped in front of Lin Huilan. Zhang Matzi, who let you in? What's there to be afraid of? I'm not a tiger. I won't eat anyone. Zhang Matzi gave a lewd grin, his gaze sweeping over Lin Huilan as he licked his lips. Didn't I just smell something delicious? Zhou Dong, you've really got some nerve now. Such a big fish. Whose house did you get it on credit from? As he spoke, he reached out to grab some meat to eat. Smack. Zhou Dong struck Zhang Matzi's hand hard with his chopsticks. Take your dirty hands off. Zhang Matzi froze for a moment. Then his eyes turned vicious. Well, Zhou Dong, turning your back on me just like that. I'm only eating a little of your meat, and you're actually getting physical? I'm telling you, even if you beg me next time, I won't take you gambling anymore. Perfect. I'm drawing a clear line with you today. Zhou Dong threw down his chopsticks, shoved Zhang Matzi aside, and charged into the woodshed. A moment later, he came out holding pai gao tiles in one hand. With one hand holding a cleaver, he charged out in a fierce rush. Zhou Dong, what are you trying to do? Seeing Zhou Dong's menacing manner, Zhang Matzi was so frightened that his whole body trembled, backing away again and again. If you have something to say it nicely, don't use force. Someone could die like this. Zhou Dong threw the pai gao tiles onto the table and raised the cleaver high. Zhang Matzi's heart skipped a beat. Terrified, he raised both hands to protect his head and squeezed his eyes shut. I was wrong. Don't be impulsive. Don't smack. A crisp sound rang out, but there was none of the pain he had imagined. Zhang Matzi summoned the courage to open his eyes. The cleaver hadn't struck him at all, but had chopped the pai gao tiles into two pieces instead. Not only was Zhang Matzi dumbfounded, Zhou Dong's family was also stunned. The old lady looked at Zhou Dong in alarm. Dongzi, what are you doing? Make your stance clear. Zhou Dong pointed at the shattered pai gao tiles, his gaze resolute. I, Zhou Dong, swear a solemn oath that from today on I will never touch gambling again. If I ever break this vow, I'll end up just like this set of pai gao tiles, with no good outcome. Zhou Dong's oath was firm and forceful, every word ringing with conviction. His determined appearance left his three ex-wives staring in a daze, unable to speak for a long while. Beside him, Zhang Matzi wiped away a cold sweat. then glanced at the pai gow tiles on the ground, his face full of heartache. Look at you. If you wanted to swear, then swear. Why wreck the pai gow tiles? This set of pai gow tiles is pretty good quality. If you didn't want it, you could have given it to me. What a waste. Anyway, Zhang Matsi didn't believe Zhou Dong's words at all. He knew the old Zhou Dong too well. Gamblers were all the same. One moment they'd swear up and down that they'd never gamble again, and the next they'd come running over like a lapdog, begging and pleading to play cards. He says he's quit gambling? Who is he fooling? Just as Zhang Matsi finished speaking, he saw Zhou Dong look his way, with a vicious glint in his eyes. In his previous life, Zhou Dong had been a business tycoon who dominated the commercial world, naturally carrying the aura of someone in power, imposing without even needing to be angry. The moment that look appeared, Zhang Matsi was so startled that he involuntarily took half a step back. Zhou Dong, what are you doing? Noticing his own reaction, Zhang Matsi immediately felt humiliated and started shouting with his neck stiffened. Zhang Matsi, I don't owe you anything, do I? Zhou Dong asked. No, why? Good. Since I don't owe you anything, then starting today, we're done for good. Zhou Dong's eyes were icy, and his tone carried distance as well, as he said to Zhang Matsi, from now on, you'd better show up less in front of me, you and Lizzie. Also, if you ever dare come harass Lin Huilan again, you'll end up just like these pai gow tiles. Do you understand? Clang. Zhou Dong grabbed the cleaver and stared fixedly at Zhang Matsi. Gulp. Looking at the cold gleam of the cleaver in Zhou Dong's hand, Zhang Matsi swallowed hard, and his legs began to tremble. He forced a smile and said, Dongzi, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? We're all from the same production team. If we don't see each other when we lower our heads, we'll see each other when we raise them. Zhou Dong didn't reply. He scraped the cleaver across the corner of the table and shaved off a small piece of wood. Zhang Matsi shuddered violently all over and hurriedly put on a fawning smile. No problem. From now on, whenever I see you, I'll take a detour. I'll never come harass Lin Huilan again. That should do it, right? Zhou Dong couldn't be bothered to look at him and wave the cleaver. Fine. Remember what you said yourself. Get lost. Zhang Matsi felt as if he'd been granted a great pardon, turned around, and bolted out of the yard, even tripping halfway. Once the outsider finally left, the yard returned to peace. Only then did Zhou Dong put down the cleaver and sit back at the table. The family was still somewhat shaken. The way Zhou Dong had looked just now was truly a bit frightening. Zhou Dongmei said to Zhou Dong reproachfully, Zhou Dong, what were you trying to do with that little act just now? Look how badly you scared the child. Zhou Dong returned to his usual self and smiled awkwardly. Wasn't I just making a statement? I finally managed to get back on the right path. What if Zhang Matsi tries to drag me down again? This worked out well. It scared him off and also let you all see that I've truly changed this time. Humph. All sweet words. Who knows what you'll be like in the future? Zhou Dongmei snorted, seeming still very dissatisfied, though her tone had clearly softened quite a bit. Ah, Sister Huilan, why are you crying? On the other side, Su Shihong was surprised to find that Lin Huilan behind her actually had red-rimmed eyes. It's all Zhou Dong's fault. He scared Sister Huilan, didn't he? Lin Huilan quickly wiped away her tears with her sleeve in embarrassment and said, blushing, no, I'm happy. Zhou Dong can turn over a new leaf, and he even helped warn Zhang Matsi. I'm happy. Hearing her words, Zhou Dong suddenly felt a pang in his heart. Lin Huilan was his ex-wife, yet he had failed to fulfill his responsibility to protect her. Now, Zhou Dong had only done what he should have done, yet it moved Lin Huilan to tears. All right, Dongzi has made his position clear today, so for now everyone should believe him. The old lady still kept a stern face, but there was a hint of sweetness in her heart. From now on, our whole family will watch how he behaves, whether he's really different or not. Huilan, don't cry anymore. Eat first. The food will get cold in a little while. With the old lady's urging, the whole family finished off the remaining food. After dinner, Zhou Dong proactively grabbed the bowls and plates and took on the dishwashing himself. Su Shihong said in puzzlement, Zhou Dong's change today is just too big, isn't it? He's taken over all the housework. Now that he's doing this, I'm a bit unaccustomed to it. The old lady laughed and said, all right, let him busy himself. You all have been tired for so long. It's time you got some rest too. The three ex-wives and the children, led by the old lady, all went to rest. Zhou Dong, meanwhile, washed dishes while thinking about his plans for the future. It was now 1977, and by the end of next year, a world-shaking event would happen. Reform and opening up. When that time came, things would truly surge with change, and opportunities would be limitless. Zhou Dong recalled his previous experiences. Even after missing many opportunities, he had still managed to become a major figure in one region. Now that he had returned with his memories, with the experiences and memories of his previous life, he would only rise even faster. During this year, I need to seize the opportunity well and first save up my first pot of gold. The best way is still to go hunting in the mountains. Matu Mountain is rich in resources, practically a great treasure trove, and Zhou Dong had to make good use of it. But right now, my equipment is far too crude. Only homemade bows and arrows, without even a proper arrowhead. If I want to hunt valuable large game, I'm afraid I'll need a good bow, traps, or even a hunting rifle. At the thought of a hunting rifle, Zhou Dong's heart stirred. He was an excellent marksman. If he could get a good gun, not to mention medium-sized prey like deer, roe deer, and wolves, even wild boars and black bears would be easy for him to take down. But these days, getting a hunting rifle would cost quite a bit of money, so it had to be considered over the long term. As Zhou Dong planned, he unknowingly finished the chores while thinking and working. After being busy in the mountains all day, once he lay in bed, drowsiness quickly came over him. Zhou Dong closed his eyes, and before he knew it, he had fallen asleep. Early the next morning, when Zhou Dong heard the second rooster crow, he briskly got up and went to the kitchen, planning to make breakfast for the family. Unexpectedly, as soon as he entered, he saw that Lin Huilan was already busy at work. Seeing Lin Huilan covered in patches and still working diligently without complaint, a warm feeling suddenly rose in Zhou Dong's heart. As if possessed, he walked up behind Lin Huilan and wrapped his arms around her. Lin Huilan gave a start and cried out softly, hurriedly struggling with all her strength. She turned around to look and, seeing that it was Zhou Dong, finally stopped struggling. But her eyes unconsciously drifted toward the inner room, and even the tips of her ears were a little hot. So early in the morning, what nonsense are you up to? Feeling Lin Huilan's lovely figure, Zhou Dong was momentarily a little distracted by desire, but he quickly suppressed it. There was plenty of time ahead, so he wasn't in a hurry. Besides, at this hour, everyone should be getting up. And if someone saw him being so improper, maybe all of yesterday's efforts would have been for nothing. Huilan, you've worked hard all these years. Zhou Dong said gently. I know I was really no good before. But don't worry, I'll make it up to you from now on. Starting right now? Come, I'll cook with you. Lin Huilan was soft-hearted to begin with, and hearing Zhou Dong's words made her feel a wave of warmth in her heart. No need, I'd better do it. You should go rest. She urged softly. That won't do. How can I let my wife do all the work by herself? Zhou Dong said with a grin as he moved close to Lin Huilan, skillfully starting to knead dough and make wild vegetable cakes. Since he insisted so much, Lin Huilan didn't keep trying to send him away. The two worked side by side, and it felt very much like a warm little home. As Zhou Dong was busy working, he suddenly noticed that one corner of the courtyard wall by the front gate had collapsed, and yesterday's complaints from his former wives popped into his mind. How did our wall get broken? Zhou Dong rolled up his sleeves, somewhat annoyed. Which blind fool smashed our wall? I'm going to settle the score with him. Lin Huilan raised a hand and tucked back a strand of hair, then scolded him playfully. You still have the nerve to say that? Wasn't it you who knocked it down? Zhou Dong was instantly stunned and thought back carefully for a long while before vaguely remembering. So it turned out that after he went out gambling and lost, he got dead drunk, and by the time he got home, he had collapsed on the ground and couldn't move. It took Lin Huilan and the other women an enormous effort to drag him into the courtyard. During the process, he kept struggling and kicked half the wall down with one foot. Zhou Dong scratched his head awkwardly. Originally, Zhou Dong had planned to go up the mountain after breakfast today, but now it seemed that wouldn't do. He should repair the courtyard wall first. After the family finished breakfast, Zhou Dong set out carrying the family's bucket. He came to a nearby creek, dug up some moist yellow earth, and casually grabbed some straw as well, carrying it on his shoulder as he headed back. Halfway there, he ran into a few villagers coming from the opposite direction. The moment they saw him, they laughed. Yo, has young Master Zhou changed his ways? We all heard that yesterday you swore you'd never gamble again for the rest of your life. Is that true or not? Of course it's true. Zhou Dong couldn't really be bothered with them, so he answered perfunctorily and kept walking. But the villagers wouldn't let it go. Yesterday Zhang Matzi got quite a scare from you and went home cursing for half the night. He said you're a real bastard and that he's going to make trouble for you. Hearing this, Zhou Dong immediately frowned. He knew it. Zhang Matzi was like a sticky plaster, very hard to shake off. Most likely after Zhang Matzi got home, he started scheming again, thinking of ways to deal with him. But Zhou Dong wasn't afraid either. he'd deal with whatever came. If Zhang Matzi really has what it takes, then they can face off head-on and see who's afraid of whom. After throwing out that harsh line, Zhou Dong strode briskly toward home. Several villagers were all stunned by what he said. But you know what? This Zhou Dong really does seem different. Isn't that the truth? The day before yesterday, he was like a rotten gambler. But looking at him today, he really does seem quite manly. A leopard can't change its spots. Maybe he'll go back to gambling tomorrow. Zhou Dong paid no mind to other people's gossip and went home with his things. He made 3 or 4 trips back and forth, and the pile of yellow mud at the door had built up into a small mound. Zhou Dong felt the materials were about enough, so he began building the courtyard wall. Most families in the village had earthen walls, though the methods varied somewhat. Some were rammed earth walls, and some were adobe walls. Adobe walls were similar in form to brick walls, except the bricks were made of earth, then stacked up after drying, which was fairly convenient. Zhou Dong's family had a rammed earth wall, which, as the name suggests, was compacted repeatedly with a rammer. It was quite labor-intensive, but the advantage was that it was relatively sturdy. Before compacting the wall, the yellow mud had to be trampled first, until it became very sticky, almost like modeling clay, and then it was about right. Zhou Dong rolled up his pant legs, and while he was stomping the mud, Li Taizhu came over from afar. Li Taizhu had seen yesterday that Zhou Dong had turned over a new leaf, and he was very happy inside. But when he lay in bed at night, he started worrying again. Dongzi finally managed to straighten himself out. What if those hoodlums led him back into gambling again? No, I've got to drag him up the mountain to catch fish. With that thought in mind, Li Taizhu came to Zhou Dong's house early in the morning. From a long way off, he saw Zhou Dong stomping yellow mud, and immediately felt much more at ease. He trotted all the way to the door and said to Zhou Dong with a smile, "Dongzi, building the courtyard wall? I knew it. My brother is practical as can be. If he says he won't gamble, then he won't gamble." Of course, Zhou Dong also smiled and said, "When have I ever lied to you? Hurry, get a couple of wooden board clamps and help me compact the wall." All right. Li Taizhu turned around happily and ran home. Before long, he came rushing back holding 2 thick wooden boards. By this time, Zhou Dong had almost finished stomping the yellow mud and found a shovel to pile it into the gap in the wall. He had been worried before. Trying to build an earthen wall properly by himself would not be easy. Luckily, Taizhu had come to help. Li Taizhu set up the wooden board frames so the yellow mud would not run down. Zhou Dong filled the inside with mud mixed with straw and compacted it bit by bit with a wooden mallet. The two of them worked busily for half the morning, compacting 2 layers of earthen wall, and that more or less fixed the gap in the courtyard wall at home. Zhou Dong patted the wall, and it gave off a solid sound. He nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. After the sun dries it for a few more days, it'll be even sturdier. No one will be able to kick it down. Li Taizhu, tactlessly bringing up the wrong thing at the wrong time, said, "By the way, how did your wall get broken?" "How would I know?" Zhou Dong guiltily rubbed his nose. Li Taizhu burst out laughing, still pretending. "You were the one who kicked it down when you were drunk. The old lady already told me. Then why do you even ask?" Zhou Dong got so annoyed that he punched Li Taizhu once. "By the way, why didn't you go to work again today?" Seeing that the sun was almost overhead, Zhou Dong suddenly remembered something. "Work my ass," Li Taizhu said indifferently. "Those few work points aren't even enough to feed me alone. I was just planning to ask you to go into the mountains and get some goods, but fixing the courtyard wall held us up. Let's go. It's not too late even if we head over now." Zhou Dong knew Taizhu meant well for him and felt happy inside. He immediately said, "Today I'll let you see what a sharpshooter really is." "Yeah, keep talking." Li Taizhu curled his lip, his face full of disbelief. "We grew up together. Don't I know what you're like? A sharpshooter? Stop it. You're making me laugh." Zhou Dong didn't get mad either. "Don't believe it? Then let's have a competition today, brother. Go home and dig out your dad's old bow and arrows. Bring a few more arrows, and let's see who can bring down more game. How about it?" Li Taizhu's competitive spirit was stirred up by him. "Sure. Wait for me to come back." With that, he ran all the way home. Li Taizhu's family really did have an old bow, one his father had used many years ago. When his father was young, he would occasionally go up the mountain to hunt. But in the past few years, as he got older, he stopped bothering with it, and the bow and arrows at home gathered dust. Li Taizhu himself loved the water and was considered one of Matu Mountain's best swimmers. As for archery, he really wasn't very good at it. Before long, Li Taizhu came back carrying a bow on his back. It had been kept in pretty good condition. Zhou Dong could tell at a glance that this bow had not been completely neglected. The bowstring was even coated with wax. It seemed old Masterly might be old, but his heart was still young, and he still took care of it from time to time. Come on, come on, come on. Li Taiju looked excited. I haven't drawn a bow in a long time either, but I've still got it. You're just misusing words. How old are you? And you're saying you've still got it. Zhou Dong laughed and patted him on the back. Hurry up, if we're any later, we won't be able to see clearly. It was autumn now, and the days were already gradually getting shorter. On top of that, the light in the woods wasn't good, so by 4 or 5 o'clock at the latest, they wouldn't be able to see the game clearly. They had to make the most of their time. Zhou Dong, not eating lunch. Seeing the two of them hurrying off, Su Shihong immediately called out from behind. Not eating, we're going hunting. What a rare sight. Su Shihong said in puzzlement. Could it be that Zhou Dong really has changed? Yesterday was one thing, but today he's even more hard-working than yesterday. Isn't that a good thing? Zhou Dongmei came to her side. Looking at Zhou Dong's back. I'm just afraid he'll be all enthusiasm for a couple of days and then quit, and after a few days he'll go back to gambling again. Over on Zhou Dong's side, the two of them soon arrived at the shrub forest near the western side of the mountain. A thick layer of fallen leaves had accumulated on the ground, and they crunched underfoot. They heard birds calling in the distance, but after only taking 2 steps, they saw the birds flutter up into the air and disappear in the blink of an eye. This is really rotten luck. Li Taiju sighed. The sound of us walking is louder than a gunshot. So how are we supposed to hunt birds? Dongzi, stop messing with me. We might as well go catch fish instead. Shoo. Zhou Dong put a finger to his lips, telling Li Taiju to keep his voice down while bending over. Look there. He pointed to a treetop more than 10 meters away and whispered to Li Taiju. A pheasant. See it? Li Taiju narrowed his eyes and looked for a long while. And sure enough, there was a pheasant among the dense leaves. Its feathers were brilliantly multicolored, and its tail feathers were especially long, so it should be a male. You go first. Zhou Dong gave Li Taiju a push and signaled with his eyes for him to seize the chance. Li Taiju's heart leaped into his throat. He took the hunting bow off his back, held his breath, and slowly drew the bowstring. Feeling that his aim was about right, he let go, and an arrow shot out. Hit. The moment the arrow flew out, Li Taiju immediately clenched his fists. This shot had felt just right. It should have been a sure thing. But the next second, the arrow grazed over the pheasant's head. And who knew where it landed? The pheasant was badly startled, cackled loudly, flapped its wings, and flew into the shrubs, disappearing from sight in no time. Damn it! Li Taiju beat his chest and stamped his feet, shouting as he was so furious he was practically smoking. That pheasant was pretty big. If his arrow had hit, it would have been enough for the family to eat for at least 2 days. What a pity. You had your chance and blew it. Zhou Dong laughed out loud. Just watch. In a moment, I'll let a sharpshooter put on a show for you. The pheasant already ran off. What is there left to show? Li Taiju said sulkily. That's where you don't understand. Zhou Dong pointed at the clearing under that tree. See that? The pheasant scratched around in that patch before, and the traces keep extending toward the bushes. It usually moves around this area. Unless something unexpected happened, it should still be near the bushes. I'll find it very soon. Zhou Dong was experienced at hunting and knew pheasants' habits well. Although pheasants can fly, they can't fly far and are better at running on the ground. When they encounter danger, they like to run and hide in the bushes, so their habits are easy to grasp. Li Taiju frowned. Although he was genuinely happy that his good brother had changed for the better, for some reason, he always felt that the current Zhou Dong was not quite the same as before. No, how do you even know all this? I never saw you hunt before. This is what you call a hidden master. Zhou Dong brushed it off with a vague reply, bent over, and slowly walked forward, carefully observing the surrounding bushes. Sure enough, before long, near an open area, he saw that same pheasant from earlier. After being startled, it was still shaken, stretching its neck and looking around. Occasionally, it lowered its head to peck at some grass seeds. Zhou Dong and the other man were quite lucky. The pheasant had its back to them and had no idea the hunters were right behind it. This time, let me do it. Zhou Dong took out his homemade bow and arrow and aimed at the ground beneath the pheasant's feet. That's way too low. Li Taiju watched anxiously and urged in a low voice from the side. Aim higher. What can you hit like that? It'll go right under the pheasant's butt. Sure, just watch. Zhou Dong spoke calmly, held his breath, and shot an arrow. Carrying a fierce gust, the arrow shot forward, skimming along the ground. The pheasant was already extremely alert. The moment it heard the sound of the arrow cutting through the air, it immediately kicked off with both legs, about to flap up into the sky. Before it kicked off, its body first pressed downward to gather strength. It was pierced clean through by the arrow. with the arrow still stuck in it. The pheasant flopped around on the ground a few times, then quickly ran out of strength, kicked its legs, and died. Damn, Dongzi, you're incredible. Li Taiju was so shocked that he stood there dumbfounded, staring at Zhou Dong in disbelief. How did you know it would dip down first? That's all experience. Zhou Dong put away his bow and arrows and said calmly, once you've done it enough, you'll know too. He wasn't lying about that. This really was experience accumulated from hunting in his previous life, and now it happened to come in handy. Zhou Dong walked over and picked up the pheasant, weighed it in his hand, and figured it was close to 3 jin. He took a piece of grass rope, tied up the chicken's feet, and hung it directly from his waist. Come on, let's keep going. No, you really are a sharpshooter. I admit it. Li Taiju no longer wanted to compete with Zhou Dong. Rather than wasting such a great opportunity himself, it would be better to bring back a few more pieces of game. If we run into more game, you should take the shot first, otherwise we'll just waste the chance. Seeing the frustrated look on his face, Zhou Dong didn't tease him and said sincerely, why talk about wasting anything? You may not be that amazing at archery, but you're a strong swimmer. I can't compare to you in that. Li Taiju had been feeling a little discouraged, but hearing him say that, he immediately grinned and slung an arm around Zhou Dong's shoulders. Well now, son, since when did you learn to talk like a decent human being? I like what you just said. You asking for a beating? I shouldn't have praised you, son. The two of them kept bickering and joking as they continued deeper in. By the time the sky was getting dark, Zhou Dong had 2 rabbits, 3 pheasants, and 1 big fish hanging from his waist. There was too much game. It was even getting in the way of walking. Li Taiju didn't do badly either, with 2 fish hanging from his waist and a pheasant dangling behind him. The 2 returned fully loaded, walking home excitedly. On the way, Li Taiju even started humble bragging, saying, oh man, so much stuff. We won't be able to finish it for days. I'm even worried it'll go bad. Honestly, the team's usual earnings are pretty average, and all year round, they only get to eat a bit of meat during the new year. Even though Li Taiju is a good swimmer and can occasionally catch a couple of fish to improve their meals, in reality, the opportunities aren't that many. But these past 2 days have been great. Yesterday they caught quite a few fish, and today there was even an extra pheasant. How could he not show off a little? What are you worried about? Keep some for the family and sell the rest. Zhou Dong had already planned it out. Tomorrow, the 2 of us will go to the county town and find someone to sell the game to. Li Taiju got even more excited when he heard that. That's great. For him, going into the county town wasn't just about making money. It was also a chance to broaden his horizons. He worked every day as usual, so when would he ever have time to go into the county town? Seeing how excited Li Taiju was, Zhou Dong figured he probably wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. By the time Zhou Dong came down the mountain, it was already completely dark. Several ex-wives took turns looking toward the door. Zhou Dongmei looked anxious. It's so late and he's still not back. Could something have happened? Who knows? Maybe he went gambling again. Before Su Shihong had even finished speaking, they heard Zhou Dong's voice. Who's spreading rumors about me behind my back? As he spoke, Zhou Dong came back carrying a large pile of game. The family was all shocked. So much game? You caught all of it? Who else would have? Zhou Dong set down the pheasants and rabbits and said to his ex-wives, everyone divided up. Leave half for the family, and tomorrow I'll take the other half to the county town to sell. The family happens to be out of grain too, so I'll buy some rations. He had noticed it yesterday when he went into the kitchen. The house was truly empty, and they were eating nothing but wild vegetable cakes. The 3 little girls were still growing. How could this go on? He had to make sure everyone at home ate well. The old lady said from the side, leave what? Just sell it all. There's still some left from the game you brought back yesterday. If you keep more game, we won't be able to finish it, and it'll go to waste. What a pity. That's because you're all being too frugal. Zhou Dong shook his head and said firmly, the adults can't bear to eat meat and leave it all for the children. How can that do? From now on, our family must eat meat at every meal. Eat more. There's no need to worry. Hunting this much game is nothing unusual. There are plenty of resources in Matu Mountain. From now on, we'll have meat every day. Zhou Dong wasn't boasting. With his skills, he really could bring back a large pile of game every day. And that was still without a hunting rifle. Once he had a hunting rifle, he'd be able to hunt those medium and large animals, and the harvest would only get bigger and bigger. The family couldn't resist Zhou Dong's insistence and still kept half of the game. Zhou Dong personally plucked the pheasants and skinned the rabbits. Pheasant feathers are quite useful. They can be made into feather dusters to sell for money, or used as fletching for arrows to make hunting easier. As for the rabbit skins, he planned to sell them together with the meat tomorrow. Rabbit skins certainly aren't as valuable as fox or weasel pelts, but with winter coming soon, there would definitely be quite a few households buying them to make hats or fur patches and the like. Early the next morning, Zhou Dong called for Li Taizhu, and they set off for the county town. Li Taizhu borrowed an ox cart, with both their game loaded on it, and they moved forward at a leisurely pace. It was over 10 li from the countryside to the county town, but the villagers were long used to this sort of thing. Usually, not many people used an ox cart to go into town. Basically, they relied on their own two legs. Sitting on the ox cart, Li Taizhu chatted with Zhou Dong on and off. But Zhou Dong was getting a little impatient. In his previous life, he had lived through modern society, where every second truly counted and things changed with each passing day. With airplanes and high-speed rail, even a few thousand kilometers could be covered in just a few hours. Zhou Dong felt that going into the county town like this was really a waste of time. Sigh, when are we ever going to get there? Before they had even gone halfway, Zhou Dong couldn't hold back anymore. What's the rush? The county town won't grow legs and run away, Li Taizhu said calmly. If you want to go faster, then be like those city folks and buy yourself a bicycle. That'll be fast. Li Taizhu was only joking, because for the countryside right now, a bicycle was practically a luxury item. Most people didn't even dare dream of one. Only a small number of commune cadres could have bicycles, riding along the dirt roads looking incredibly impressive. The speaker may not have meant anything by it, but the listener took it to heart. Zhou Dong really did start thinking about getting a bicycle. Come to think of it, if he wanted to travel frequently between the county town and the village in the future, he really did need a suitable means of transportation. Whether it was a bicycle or a tractor, in any case, I have to figure something out. Zhou Dong calculated silently to himself, and the two of them soon arrived at the county town. Dongzi, where are we going to sell this? The supply and marketing cooperative or the purchasing station? Li Taizhu looked at the crossroads in front of him and asked in confusion. At this time, if rural people wanted to sell things on their own, these were basically the only two legal channels. The purchasing station not only bought scrap, but also wild animals, and the supply and marketing cooperative was the same. The only difference was that both places were official, had bad attitudes, and offered relatively low purchase prices. Zhou Dong shook his head. No, we're not going to either of those places. Then what did we come to the county town for? Li Taizhu was puzzled. If you wanted the production team to sell it, why go to all this trouble? We're going to the black market, Zhou Dong said after thinking for a moment. What did you say? Li Taizhu was greatly shocked. He nervously looked around and said to Zhou Dong in a low voice, Dongzi, are you crazy? If you get caught, that's the crime of speculation and profiteering. You'll go to jail. Zhou Dong looked at Li Taizhu's reaction and wasn't surprised at all. Li Taizhu was a law-abiding good citizen. Something like the black market was beyond even what he dared imagine. Zhou Dong was different. He had been through so much that a mere black market was nothing to him. Don't worry. Today your dad will open your eyes a bit. Zhou Dong patted Li Taizhu on the shoulder. All right, make your expression look normal. Don't act like a thief. If this keeps up, the two of us could get grabbed by the patrol before we've even done anything. Li Taizhu hurriedly covered his face with his sleeve, still uneasy. Dongzi, how about we forget it and go to the purchasing station? We'll get a little less money, but it'll be safe. Hearing Li Taizhu's advice, Zhou Dong was completely unmoved. Not only was he going to sell the goods, he also wanted to buy more rations for the family. If he didn't go to the black market, there was no way to buy grain at all. In those days, grain was not freely supplied. It had to be distributed according to the production brigade's allocation. It would be different for urban residents. They could go to the store and buy it with their grain booklet or grain coupons. But they were rural people, and if they wanted grain, they could only rely on the production team's granary to issue it to them each month. And in those days, the per capita grain ration wasn't much to begin with. Zhou Dong had calculated it before. His own daily ration was less than a jean of grain. Who could live on that? If he wanted to change his family's situation, the only option was the black market. Driving the ox cart, he quickly arrived at the entrance of a nearby alley. Standing there was a young man in blue work clothes, who seemed to be idly cracking sunflower seeds out of boredom, but in fact his eyes were vigilantly watching the surroundings the whole time. Zhou Dong pulled Li Taizhu off the cart and was about to go in. Stop! What are you doing? The young man immediately blocked the two of them, his vigilant gaze sweeping over them once. From the countryside? Don't go wandering around. This isn't a place people like you should be coming to. As soon as Li Taizhu heard that, his expression darkened. You look down on rural people. Before he could finish, Zhou Dong covered his mouth. Sorry, my buddy here is here for the first time and doesn't know the rules. Zhou Dong said skillfully as he pulled a 2-cent coin from his pocket. If I remember correctly, the entry fee is 2 cents, right? The young man looked at him somewhat surprised. You're not new here? Why didn't you say so earlier? Fine, I won't charge you, but he has to pay 2 cents. Zhou Dong slapped the 2 cents into the young man's hand and pulled Li Taizhu into the alley. After walking a few steps, Li Taizhu lowered his voice and said to Zhou Dong, Dongzi, what's this all about? Why should we give him money? That's just how this black market works. First-timers all pay 2 cents. Zhou Dong explained calmly, don't worry. Once you've been here once, you'll know your way around the second time. Next time you come, you won't have to pay. Li Taizhu looked at him in surprise. No, where did you learn all these rules? Heh, I'll tell you later. Zhou Dong brushed him off with a vague reply and didn't tell the truth. Actually, the reason he knew the rules of this place also came from his experience in his previous life. In this life, both Zhou Dong and Li Taizhu were here for the first time, so the young man at the alley entrance didn't recognize him and thought he had remembered wrong. As for the rule about paying at the black market, it wasn't really that outrageous. These days, quite a few places have their own black markets, and they're highly mobile. Naturally, different black markets have different rules. Some black markets don't charge anything. You can just walk in. Of course, in places like that, no one keeps watch for you either. If patrols show up, everyone just scatters like birds and beasts, and whether you can get away depends entirely on your own ability. As for the black market they came to, since that young fellow was collecting money, he naturally had to do some work too. If he spotted patrols, he had to send a warning in advance. Although you'd lose a bit of money, it was much safer. Also, in some places where control was stricter, the forms black markets took were even more varied and bizarre. For example, some people used weddings or funerals as a cover to trade quietly in the crowd, making it very hard to detect. There were also black markets by the sea, where deals were made specifically at the harbor docks, swaying on small boats so that no one would know. Zhou Dong led Li Taizhu around several turns and soon arrived at an open area. The place was quite large, and many of the people there were ordinary commoners, sitting on the ground with a burlap sack and the goods they wanted to sell laid out in front of them. Most of what these people were selling was grain and eggs produced by their own families, as well as various iron tools and small pieces of furniture. It was Li Taizhu's first time in a place like this, and the sight dazzled him so much that he couldn't stop exclaiming, Wow, it's even livelier than the market fair. Are they really allowed to sell this stuff? If they get caught, it'll be terrible. Seeing how shocked he was, a bearded man nearby couldn't help speaking up. Hey, brother, how come you haven't seen anything before? First time at a black market? Li Taizhu gave a simple, honest grin. Yeah, it's really opened my eyes. The bearded man laughed too, then pointed at the sacks behind them and asked, You too? Judging by the way you look, you're here to sell mountain goods, right? Perfect, I'm buying mountain goods right now. My prices have always been fair, so sell to me. What do you say? Li Taizhu was just about to refuse when Zhou Dong took the initiative to untie the sack opening. Sure, brother, help us name a price. Seeing him agree so readily, the bearded man was quite surprised. Straightforward. Zhang Jianya, like straightforward people like you best. What should I call you, brother? My name is Zhou Dong, and this is my brother Li Taizhu. Zhou Dong took the opportunity to introduce them both. Brother Zhou Dong, wait a moment while I take a look at the goods you brought. Now that they were acquainted, Zhang Jianya immediately began inspecting the things they had brought. Seeing this, Li Taizhu tugged at Zhou Dong's sleeve from the side and whispered, Dongzi, why didn't you look around more? I see quite a few people in this black market buying mountain goods. We should bargain over the price. Li Taizhu felt puzzled. Zhou Dong was usually quite shrewd, so why was he acting foolish today? Zhou Dong just smiled. I trust Brother Zhang. You'll understand in a moment. Brother Zhou Dong, I like hearing that. Zhang Jianya, standing nearby, suddenly looked up and said to Zhou Dong with a smile, The prices old Zhang, offer for mountain goods are absolutely fair. Everyone in the black market knows it. Even if you make a round, I'll still be the one offering the highest price in the end. It turned out that Zhang Jianya had heard every word of their quiet conversation just now. Li Taizhu immediately felt a little embarrassed and scratched his head, letting out an awkward chuckle. Zhang Jianya continued, My principle in doing business is not to cheat people, but I don't like being cheated either. Brother Zhou Dong is a straightforward man. As long as there's nothing wrong with the goods, we can work together long term. Anything you hunt in the mountains, you can bring here to sell to me. And the price is absolutely negotiable. The more Zhang Jianya looked at Zhou Dong, the more he felt they got along well, as if they had known each other in a previous life. In fact, Zhou Dong and Zhang Jianya really had been partners in his previous life. However, The place where they met was not this black market, but the south a few years later. In his previous life, Zhou Dong went south for work and met Zhang Jianya, and the two worked together for several years, coordinating seamlessly and never once having any mishaps. Unfortunately, Zhang Jianya later died in an accident, and Zhou Dong also lost an excellent business partner. Today, Zhou Dong unexpectedly saw Zhang Jianya in the black market, and his heart immediately stirred. In this life, Zhang Jianya, this reliable friend, absolutely could not be missing from the road to the rise of his business empire. Because of this, when faced with Zhang Jianya's initiative invitation just now, Zhou Dong didn't hesitate at all and directly agreed. After looking for a moment, Zhang Jianya patted the sack with satisfaction. Looks good. The wild rabbits are pretty fat. I'll give you 5 yuan each. The pheasants are sold by weight, 1 yuan per jean. What do you think? Zhou Dong's heart stirred. Sure enough, Zhang Jianya hadn't changed, and the price he offered was quite fair and reasonable. When Li Taizhu heard this, he instantly became excited. That much. He looked at Zhang Jianya in disbelief. If I'd known these mountain goods were this valuable, I'd go hunting in the mountains every day. It's much better than working in the fields. In the countryside, a family's yearly income was based on the work points from the production team. Last year, Li Taizhu worked the entire year, and by the end of it was only allocated a little over 60 yuan. And much of that was offset with grain. The actual cash he got in hand was only 1 10 yuan note. And now, just by selling a few wild rabbits and pheasants, the two of them had already made more than 10 yuan. For Li Taizhu, that was like earning several months' worth of money all at once. How could he not be excited? Compared with Li Taizhu, Zhou Dong was much calmer. He and Zhang Jianya made the exchange, money in one hand and goods in the other. 2 rabbits and 2 pheasants earned a total of 18 yuan and 5 mao. Zhou Dong carefully put away the stack of banknotes, then said to Zhang Jianya, Brother Zhang, we often go into the mountains and get quite a lot. We'll have plenty more chances to work together in the future. Of course, Zhang Jianya said with a smile. As long as the black market is open, come find me here. If there's a crackdown and the black market closes, I usually hang around near the supply and marketing cooperative, so I'm easy to find. After chatting a little more, Zhou Dong took his leave of Zhang Jianya and prepared to go buy grain. Li Taizhu was still immersed in the joy of making money just now, grinning foolishly at the side. It took Zhou Dong tugging at him several times before he finally came to his senses. Let's go buy grain. Zhou Dong pulled Li Taizhu along to other parts of the black market. At the same time, he took out the money from selling the goods just now from his pocket, counted out half of it, and handed it to Li Taizhu. Taizhu, this is your share. Buy whatever the family needs, but don't spend it recklessly. Li Taizhu looked at the great unity in Zhou Dong's hand and immediately sobered up. No, I can't take this money. Li Taizhu said firmly. You basically hunted all the pheasants and rabbits. It has nothing to do with me either. I didn't do any work, and this money burns my hands. We're brothers. Why are you splitting hairs with me over such a small thing? Zhou Dong stuffed the money into his pocket. If I tell you to take it, then take it. Buy some grain, oil, and things like that for the family. Improve your meals a bit. No, if you keep this up, I'm going to get mad. No matter what Li Taizhu said, he refused to take it, and his voice got louder too. Zhou Dong really had no way to deal with him, so after much persuasion, he finally gave Li Taizhu 4 yuan and told him to at least buy some things to take back. As for Zhou Dong himself, he bought 5 jin of rice for 1.5 yuan. Rice at the supply and marketing cooperative was 0.14 yuan, so naturally it was a bit more expensive on the black market, costing 0.3 yuan per jin. After that, Zhou Dong found another stall selling standard flour. So-called standard flour was just white flour, and it was also 0.2 yuan per jin. Zhou Dong bought another 5 jin. Just as he was about to leave, he noticed there was also someone selling rapeseed oil at 1.5 yuan per jin. Zhou Dong thought it over and figured the family really was lacking in oily food, so he bought 2 jin of rapeseed oil. Altogether, these things cost a full 5.5 yuan. Selling the mountain goods earned a total of 18.5 yuan. After giving Li Taizhu 4 yuan, Zhou Dong only had 9 yuan left in his hands. Money really doesn't go far. Just now, Zhou Dong had still felt that a little over 10 yuan wasn't a small amount in this day and age. It was only after buying some grain for the family that he realized this bit of money was even less than he remembered. This can't go on, Zhou Dong thought to himself. Relying only on these small game animals. When will I ever earn my first bucket of gold? I have to get something bigger, at least roe deer or deer. Zhang Jianya had also mentioned just now that if there were weasels, foxes, and the like, their pelts were worth quite a bit too. Zhou Dong planned to keep an eye out for those things the next time he went up the mountain and try to bring back a few more. After the two of them bustled around in the city for half the day, they finally returned with a full load, with quite a bit of grain and oil piled on the ox cart. Zhou Dong had originally planned to make a trip into the county town and take Li Taizhu to eat once at a state-run restaurant. Thinking about it now, the resources they had on hand were still far too meager. They'd talk about it after making money next time. At noon, the two of them climbed onto the ox cart and headed home on empty stomachs. After Zhou Dong got home, he took out the white rice and white flour, and the family was all greatly shocked. "Zhou Dong, you really did go exchange for grain. I thought." Su Shihong stopped halfway through her sentence, at a loss for words. "What did you think? Surely you didn't think I went out gambling again, did you?" Zhou Dong could tell with one guess what Su Shihong was thinking, and said with a smile. He didn't really mind his family's prejudice, because he truly had been awful before. How many days had it been since he turned over a new leaf? It was only natural for the family to doubt him. If he wanted to dispel those doubts, the only way was to work even harder and show a new side of himself. After Zhou Dong said that, Su Shihong instead felt a little embarrassed. Although she sometimes spoke in a rather barbed way, like the other two ex-wives, she was kind-hearted. Realizing that what she had said didn't sound very nice, Su Shihong also became a bit awkward, wanting to apologize but unable to get the words out. "Shihong didn't mean it that way. Did you, Shihong?" Fortunately, Lin Huilon smoothed things over from the side and said to Zhou Dong, "Buying so much fine grain must have cost quite a bit, right? If you ask me, it would have been enough to buy some coarse grain instead. This won't last more than a few days." Zhou Dongmei said from the side. There were 8 people in their family, so 10 jin of grain really wouldn't last long. "Don't worry, this is only the beginning," Zhou Dong said. "Next time I come back, it won't be just 10 jin of grain. I'm only afraid there'll be so much that there won't be room in the house to store it." "Listen to you brag." Zhou Dongmei smiled and teased him, clearly in a much better mood than before after seeing Zhou Dong's changes. Several of the ex-wives went to prepare dinner. This time, Zhou Dong didn't rush to help. Instead, he went into the yard, took out a few crude arrow shafts, and began working on them. The homemade gear from before was fine for taking down small game, but if he really wanted to go after bigger prey, he had to modify and upgrade it. He tidied up the pheasant feathers and glued them to the back of the shafts, giving the arrows fletching. With fletching, the arrows would fly more steadily, and combined with Zhou Dong's archery skills, they would definitely hit the mark with incredible precision. As for the arrowheads, Zhou Dong didn't have time to find a blacksmith, but he had his own method. After sharpening several arrow tips, he put them into the stove to bake, and before long the surface of the tips turned black. Wood baked this way was both sharp and hard, and Zhou Dong then ground them against the stone a bit more. This made the arrows much sharper, though unfortunately they would be rather brittle. If they hit bone, they could easily shatter. After Zhou Dong processed several arrows step by step, he set them aside separately. As for the other arrows, he planned to handle them in a different way. When the family had eaten rabbit and pheasant before, Zhou Dong had deliberately kept some bones, instead of throwing them away, and now they came in handy. He roasted the bones over the fire, then chopped them with an axe, and soon ground them into sharp triangles. Bone was much tougher than wood, and once sharpened it was extremely keen, no worse than metal at all. Zhou Dong bound them tightly with hemp rope several times, looked them over, and nodded in satisfaction. Very good. With these, even prey weighing dozens of jin could be easily shot and killed. Things like roe deer or small wild boars wouldn't be able to withstand such sharp arrows at all. Once hit in a vital spot, they would die within seconds. Zhou Dong made about a dozen arrows like this, stopping only after he had used up all the bones. "Tomorrow morning, first thing, I'll head up the mountain to hunt roe deer." Zhou Dong put away the bow and arrows properly and went to bed early. Early the next morning, before dawn had even broken, he took Li Taizhu along and headed for Matu Mountain. So sleepy, Li Taizhu covered his mouth and let out a huge yawn. At this time, the morning mist in the mountains had not yet dispersed, and the leaves on many of the trees on Matu Mountain had turned red and yellow. Many animals hadn't fully changed their coats yet, making them even more conspicuous in this environment than in spring or summer. It was the perfect time for hunting. Zhou Dong took Li Taizhu with him, but instead of heading in the direction they were familiar with, he chose a different route and went deeper into the woods. "Dongzi, where are you taking me?" Li Taizhu gripped the bow and arrows in one hand and looked around the woods. "I'm not good at hunting. If it were fishing, I'd know a thing or two." "Don't be in such a hurry," Zhou Dong said to Li Taizhu. "We'll have plenty of chances to fish later, and there'll be time for you to put your strengths to use. Really? When Li Taizhu heard a topic he was familiar with, he immediately brightened up, his eyes full of anticipation. The two walked on for a while longer, and Zhou Dong took a cornbread bun from his clothes and slowly ate it. The bun had been tucked against his body for a while and had warmed up, making it quite pleasant to eat. Because he had gotten up too early, he hadn't had time for breakfast, and after eating the bun now, he felt much more energized. His gaze swept over the surroundings, and soon in a clearing in the woods, he saw what he was looking for. They were hoof prints, and there was also some beast droppings left nearby. The droppings looked a bit like sheep pellets, but slightly longer than sheep droppings. What kind of animal is this? Li Taizhu asked curiously from the side. Roe deer, Zhou Dong said decisively. Today, when we go into the mountains, I'm here specifically for roe deer. He took out his bow and arrows from behind his back and bent down, slowly moving forward, cautiously searching the surroundings. Sure enough, before long, they discovered a group of roe deer near a water source. This group of roe deer had no idea that danger was about to arrive, leisurely nibbling grass, sometimes even raising their heads and staring into the distance in a daze. They really are roe deer. Dongzi, you're amazing. Li Taizhu immediately got excited and whispered to Zhou Dong, but we can only shoot one. After that, the rest will all run away. Don't panic, listen to me. Zhou Dong told Li Taizhu to take out his bow and arrows. Listen to my command. When I count to 3, we'll both strike at the same time, and at least we can hit 2. Zhou Dong leaned his head out, drawing the bow and shooting with intense concentration, while signaling Li Taizhu to make his move as well. Whoosh, whoosh. 2 sharp arrows shot out, and sure enough, they struck 2 different roe deer. Zhou Dong's arrow was incredibly precise, passing under the roe deer's ribs and piercing its lungs. Startled, the roe deer only ran 2 steps before it could no longer hold on, letting out a miserable cry, collapsing to the ground, and beginning to struggle continuously. Li Taizhu's arrow was a little off, hitting one roe deer in the thigh. That roe deer, with the arrow still in it, quickly ran into the woods and disappeared without a trace. As for the other roe deer, they had long since been frightened into scattering in all directions, and no one knew where they had run off to. Failed again. Seeing his roe deer run far away, Li Taizhu sighed and said dejectedly, looking speechless. Don't worry, Zhou Dong said. Don't you know the habits of roe deer? After being hit, they'll come back again after a while to see who exactly shot them.